Yeah, man. Hold on for a minute. Let me get right for a minute, man. Checking my Facebook
Purchase
page
your tracks today.
and my Instagram page and my Snapchat page. We'll get it back.
See you flossing on Instagram, stay posted on Facebook.
It's the I See What You're Doing podcast. I'm Mr. I See What You're Doing, and as always, I see what you're doing.
Always, I see what you're doing. And then I heard somebody all up in the crowd, mama, there go that man. And I showed up. Because if you call my name, I would come. And I was thinking to myself, what are we talking about? Since the world is in such a fucking array. And I couldn't come up with nothing because the country is so great, right? This country is such a great place to be, correct? I mean, the economy is great. The national deficit is down. Immigration is wonderful. The border wall is up, and we just living our best life. Nobody's struggling. Everybody's flourishing. Amanda, what's up, mommy? How you doing today? Amanda said, ding, 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 third round, fight. Hey, King. What's up, Amanda? I'm glad you came back. If y'all see Robin, you see Joe S., point him in my direction, please. So, a lot of stories out today. I don't know how we got here. I knew we were going to get here. Joe, what up, baby? Yeah, Joe. Glad you're here, bro. I don't know how we got here. I would say that it could have been a long, long time ago, you know, that put us in the trajectory where we are right now. And I wanted to start off by saying, shit, I truly want America to be great for all people. And 8 years ago, there was a man that showed up on the scene that said, make America great again. And that was something that kind of puzzled me, because there was a lot of questions that went into that. One of them was, great again for who? But the major question was, when has America been great? And that's when the fight started. I've been having this conversation for about a week now about what America looked like for immigrants and what America looked like for races by demographics and by the color of their skin, right? Because we know that if it was great, it has not been great for all people. It started out as a promise that this country was going to be a land of opportunity for people, right? And then the narrative changed. Right now in this particular country, I don't think America is great for anyone. And when I said the shit I said about gas prices and food and all of that, you know I was being sarcastic, because in the words of my partner, Joe, I am a professional agitator. Maybe the world needs to be stirred up. Maybe your mind needs to be agitated enough to where you begin to think about this stuff on your own. What I wanted to talk about today was civil rights being removed, diversity programs being rolled back, immigration enforcement, and a few other things. Now, I want to give you a thought first, and hopefully it brings you to a conclusion on why we got where we are. For you to have a statement that says "Make America Great Again," and I have a question that goes, "When was America great?" That would pose something. That would pose a thought that there's a divide somewhere, right? Here's the motherfucking lunacy in what was said and who agreed with it, right? And I'm going to point this out to you. So get ready, Joe Rodney, because I'm going to get ready to say something prolific. I promise you. Just like I said about history. You wrote the history book, and now you're ashamed of it, right? Just think with me for a moment as I give you a thought. Our founding fathers, or America's founding fathers, wrote the laws, the constitution, built the economic system, quote unquote, created everything. We went over that last week, right? And if America started out great, then I would put in the lap of the people who created this country and say that the ruling or the dominant race at that time, quote unquote, moved America in the direction where there was a downhill trajectory in that. So at some point, America started out great, and the lawmakers made America not so great. We're probably the only people that believe. We're probably the only country that believe that America is great. How do I know that? Because most countries outside of here don't really take to Americans well. Or take to the Congress and the Senate leaders and the man in office. They don't take to the leadership of this country well, if you will. And for someone to come back in and say, "Make America great again," my question would have been, point out to me the point in history. Joe, you got to give me an answer for this, Joe. Point out the point in history where America was great. Was it the Civil War era? Was it the World War II era? Was it Jim Crow? Which era was it? That was so great in the life? Which era was it? That was such an amazing moment in history. Right? Bear along with me as I opened up my outlines so I can go into my spiel for tonight. That was my monologue. Here's the opening monologue. When people say America was great, or when they say make America great again, what they're really doing is reaching back into a version of history that worked for them, that made sense to them, and made them feel stable, made life predictable, and made life beneficial. Most of those particular moments allowed you to be slave masters and use racial slurs against people and beat people, murder people, hang people, all of the tragic things and atrocities that are frowned on right now in some places. I love it, Joe. Joe said, I'm not going to succumb to your professional agitations. I am a grown up. Yes, sir. Shout out to Joe, man. Joe, would you succumb to going and getting a t-shirt, man? Because I love what you do. And I see what you do. So I'm going to go back between two different outlines, right? And hopefully I can tie them both together for you. Bear along. America being such a great place, decided to perpetrate or right around affirmative action, the civil rights movement, and things like that. Some inclusive things that were not really set up to include people of color or Native Americans or people like that. This country has always been centered around what Anglo-Saxons, Caucasians, or whatever the case may be, white people, thought that the world should look like. Not a utopia place where everybody got along and everything was equal, with liberty and justice for all. It wasn't. It never was that. Heard them getting rid of a penny now and getting rid of the penny. Turn to Abraham Lincoln. Joe said, do you not love your country and the freedoms you receive just for being an American? I have a rebuttal for you, Joe. I have a question for you. I want you to, and let me ask you a question first, Joe. I love being an American. If I'm truly an American. Right? Because we see now in this particular country that you can be an American and still be deported to another country. We can see here a country that wants to erase birthright citizenship. I don't know if we have a whole lot of freedom. I think that we have a lot of people that don't realize that we've all entered a space where the majority of this country is entered into servitude, the same servitude that the original founding fathers were trying to escape when they declared independence from Britain. When they got here, England, whatever the fuck you want to call it, when they got here, they wanted to be independent. The same things that our founding fathers went to war about are the same things that they are imposing on regular American citizens, right? Taxes, outrageous laws, aristocrats is what I'll call them, that tend and seem to be above the law. Then the double standard that comes along with being of a certain race in this country, and mind you, there is a double standard. The double standard that comes along with being of a certain race in this country is asinine at best. It's fucked up to think that you live in a country where you have freedom, because you can't. You may think you can go where you want to go and do what you want to do, but just fuck up a little bit, and they'll put you in the place where you can't get out. You know, or deport you to another country, Venezuela or whatever. But I want to talk about a long-standing clause that's being removed from federal contracts. And that law and that clause deals with what I think is the return of segregation. As I researched the law, there was a law that kept, there's a law that kept, every time I get on this, I get a random call for somebody. I don't know who's watching, but I'll call you back later. I promise you. Just let me get through my process. Something that's not, I'm about to say something that's not supposed to be said. To make a long story short, let's do this here. Can you remember when there were white-only bathrooms and white-only water fountains? And then there was a law that said that was illegal. Segregation still remains illegal, right? At this particular point. But if we change the laws, eventually that segregation will become legal. The segregation will become legal. You will have whites only bathrooms, whites only restaurants, all of that type of stuff. Because the very first thing that you start with is something small to see how people are going to respond to it. So in a nutshell, Robin, here we go again, another black man promoting that we want to segregate blacks. That is not fact at all, agitator. That's what Robin said. Okay, Robin, listen. If you don't want to segregate black people, the guy that y'all support came in hot, got rid of the DEI, diversity, equity, and inclusion. Took a swing at HBCUs and cut funding. Took a swing at healthcare in America and the organizations that assist with healthcare, mental health programs. He was just stripping money away from everyone, saying that he was trying to bring the national deficit down. And even with that being said, the national deficit went up. He was going to bring food prices down, up. Everything that he said he was going to do, minus a couple of things, everything that he said he wasn't going to do, I'm not going to go to war. But we in war. Right? Right. And I thank you for pointing out I am a black man by y'all standards. But let me clarify something. My mother's mother, my grandmother, and her mother were Indian. My father's mother and her parents were Indians. Shit. What is war, Joe? Joe said this is not a war, it's a conflict or agitation, false statements. Joe, what is war? What is a conflict? It's war. You know the things that they don't tell you when they glamorize war about missile strikes and all that. They don't tell you about the military soldiers that passed away, that died in the middle of what you call a conflict. They don't post those numbers like COVID. They don't post those numbers like COVID. Never would they post those like COVID. Because then you'll see that bullshit. You'll see the madness behind what's going on only because, like I said before, the Iran and America used to skip through the fucking lilies in the field together. They used to be friends. Or, so get your Google out. I'm going to give you some information. Or, if that wasn't accurate, you would find Ebony Queen said Boaz, 7954 said Boaz. Thank you, love. So listen, I found a story this today about I believe, if I'm not mistaken, the Soccer World Cup, where Donald Trump invited Iran to participate in that particular sporting event. The same people that we in conflict with, per Joe, shooting missiles at, Donald Trump invited to participate. I'm waiting on your response, Joe. You should have already had your Google out, Joe, and Googled it for me, because I saw it already. I did the research on it. And if you in conflict with somebody, you still want to participate in sporting events with them. What's that all about? Robin, am I agitating you enough? All right, should I keep going? Cool. When you roll back DEI programs, right? Mind you now, you didn't roll back. When you rolled it back, you actually took a swing at, and I'm gonna give y'all the olive branch right now, Joe and Roger. You took a swing at white women, LGBTQ, black people, transgender people, LGBTQ people. And you stated that you took it away, and the program that you want to implement, then the promotions and the jobs are going to be awarded on merit, which is a smokescreen. It sounds good to say. And if that was true, then I would agree with that. But we know that's not true. We know that's not true. Not off of merit. Not off of merit. Because you also hear in the news where it was like, oh, I'm going to add a little. Certain races are taking all the good jobs. Look at me, Robin. Being a man agitating. No one has come on this show to debate with me about this shit. I've given all y'all the opportunity to get here on this show. You see the email going across the bottom, all you gotta do is inbox. Hit me on my email, man, and we can set that up. I love the debate. I love to go back and forth with this. Make sure you bring your facts up. Because just saying that my information is tainted and that I'm agitating sounds like somebody trolling. I appreciate the love, though. But let's go. So diversity, equity, and inclusion. It sounds like exclusion, right? But inclusion. Yeah, I got to say, you don't think this is grown up? I have. Well, this is my job. I show up here every Thursday. This is my job. This is what I was born. This year, right? But let's go a little bit further. Give me just a second. Let me break down a little bit. Let me go back into my joint here. If you can hear me, just listen to me while I break this down for you. The founding era. Let's start in the beginning of the founding era and see if we can track down when America was great again. This is where people love to point when they talk about greatness, the founding of America. Don't get it twisted. The ideas were powerful. You're talking about a country saying we're not doing kings, we're not doing monarchies. We're building something based on freedom, equality, self-governance. That's revolutionary, and that changed the world. But here's where it gets tricky. Because while those words were being written, all men are created equal. You had slavery happening at the same exact time. Not hidden, not accidental, built into the system. Now you got to ask yourself, what are we really calling great here? Are we saying the idea was great because they were? Or are we saying the reality was great? Because that's a different conversation. Are we saying all men are created equal while we're enslaving people? And is that the great America that you want? And if that's the case, then when you say make America great again, to my point, you would look and go, damn, kind of makes sense, right? Some people would. But what I'm saying is, when you build and you lay out a foundation that all men were created equal, and then you lessen the race of people to be beneath you, and you don't want a king, you don't want a monarchy, then what exactly is great about that? Because it's not great for everyone. Don't worry. We're gonna move forward and keep it pushing. So if that's not the case, we gotta be talking about the expansionary. Let's move forward. Because as America grows, people start talking about opportunity, land ownership, independence. And for a lot of people, that was real. You can go west, you can claim land, you can build something for nothing. That's powerful. That's the kind of story people hold on to when they talk about America's greatness. But here's the part that usually gets skipped. That land wasn't empty. There were people already here, communities, cultures, nations. So now we got to ask you another question. If your opportunity comes from someone else losing everything, what do we call that? Because we talk about America that's great. And remember, Joe, let me clear. I love being in America, right? This is the problem. When chickens come home to roost, you don't want to tend to your chickens. When chickens come home, you don't want to tend to your livestock. You don't want to take accountability for what you created. And if you do take accountability for it, you don't want to take accountability for the whole thing. You want to take accountability for the parts that look good, right? And that's not how life works. You take the good and you take the bad together. You don't nitpick and try to dance around the fact that when you say that America was great, you have to stand on business and prove exactly when America was great. Because can America be great? Absolutely. But you got to weed through and get rid of the bullshit. You can't continue to go around and glaze over certain shit. You feel me? You can't go and glaze over, that's woke theory. You feel me? Like shit. If we were asleep that fucking long, at some point you gotta wake up. Gotta wake up. So you want to get rid of it. You want to erase parts of American history. That's parts of American history, right? When you say segregation, why would the president of the United States come on and make a separate statement that said black people are celebrating 100 years of black history? 100 years? And how does that work? Because people talk about 400 years of slavery, which means that for the 250 years before that America has been here, 150 years before that, people were still being enslaved. I suggest that you go and read the Willie Lynch letter, and you'll find out what the blueprint was and what Mr. Lynch made it to America, right? We've gotten rid of MLK Day. Juneteenth is going to be erased. I mean, taking down all the Black history, pissed about the statues, but you want the Confederate statues to go back up. And you know what Confederate represents. Big agitator, and I know that I ain't gonna apologize for being me. I'm just saying. If you're looking into history, if you go and you consider a person's criminal record, big felonies, or whatever the case may be, you don't get to erase the criminal record. Yeah, I know somebody gonna say you can expunge it, you can apply to have clemency and all that stuff, and this is true. But it does not erase the fact that the crime was still committed. Hang tight, we're gonna continue going, because if it wasn't the expansion era, right? Then what was it? First, let me continue. When I said if your opportunity comes from someone losing everything, what do we call it? Do we call that progress, or do we call that something else? Because America got bigger, stronger, more powerful, but it didn't happen in a vacuum. That's the pattern starting to show up again. Growth for one group, loss for another. Let me go back there. So, if that's not the case, let's continue on with something else. It's got to be Reconstruction, right? It's got to be the Reconstruction when America was great again, right? Okay, let's find out if that's the case. Joe, you still with me, man? Reconstruction and Jim Crow. There had to be a Reconstruction and Jim Crow. After slavery, after the Emancipation Proclamation, after they said slaves are free, Juneteenth was still happening, because way down south in Texas, they still had slaves that they hadn't let go yet. And the general had to go down, tell those people that they were free. After slavery ended, people like to say, okay, that was the turning point. That's when America corrected itself. And on paper, yeah, slavery did end. That's a major shift. That matters. But here's where it gets real. Because what replaced it was segregation, Jim Crow, systems that didn't call themselves slavery, but still control where people could go, what they could do, what opportunities they have, DEI. So now we got to sit with this. If you remove one from control, but replace it with another, is that real progress? Or is it that the same system just updated? Because the laws changed, but for a lot of people, the experience didn't change enough. And that's where the conversation gets uncomfortable, because we are not just talking about history. We're talking about patterns, right? We're talking about a pattern. You can glaze over it if you want. You can make all the excuses you want. You know what I mean? You can talk about it if you want. You can say whatever you feel. I say this. Regardless, regardless of whether you agree with it or not. It changed. American history changed in one manner. And that manner is this. Why I take a sip of my water. That manner is this. Gotta pour it up. That manner is this. You can change the face of slavery, whether you know it or not, whether you believe it. If people buy into it, that's totally different. If people buy into it, you just change what it looks like. Because the corrective thing, if it wasn't that, is you give everybody a fair shot. I want to explain to you guys this right here. Say what you will, but remember this. There was a head start. There was a head start that some people had, right? Because economically, if you stunt someone's growth, they don't get a chance to acquire the land. If you stunt somebody's economic ability, they don't get a chance to own anything, no businesses or nothing like that. Get it? You don't get to do any of those things. Jim Crow, if I'm not mistaken, and I could be mistaken on that, but so Jim Crow and sharecropping, I forgot to bring in sharecropping because sharecropping was like, shit, you do all the work and I'll pay you. In the same fields that slaves picked cotton in, they still was in the field picking cotton. Sound like the migrant workers now being in the field picking strawberries and things for pennies on the dollar. You feel me? You still get a chance to control what someone's economic growth looks like. You get it? Don't worry. We're gonna continue on with the thing. And Joe, Robin, I hope you didn't leave me. Stick with me. I'm not quite done just yet, but let's move forward, please. If it wasn't Reconstruction and Jim Crow that made America great, then it's got to be something else. And I'm trying to find it. So just stick long. It was the industrial era. Let's talk about growth. Because this is when America really started becoming a powerhouse. Factories, railroads, cities expanding. This is where people say. This is when America took off. And they're not growing economically. This was a major rise. Jobs were everywhere. People were coming from all over the world looking for opportunity. But here's the other side. Those jobs, long hours, low pay, dangerous conditions. Those were all the things that existed then as well. Now the question changes again. Is it enough for the opportunities to exist if the conditions around that opportunity are broken? Because yeah, you could work, but at what cost? And if people are building the wealth, but not really benefiting from it, then who is the system actually working for? This is where greatness starts to look different, depending on where you're standing. Okay? This is what's happening right now. We right back in that particular thing again. We right back in that particular groove again. To where, as I said last week, a lot of people don't understand what true economics look like, right? You don't understand that there's a brotherhood where we're not a part of it. Most people are not part of the class that has inside information on what stock is going to rise and what stock is not going to grow. You just taking the risk, but and you're not even taking the calculated risk. You just hoping that it happens. When on the inside, there's people that know it's going to happen. They know it's going to happen. My mentor explained it to me and said, White is not a color. White is a mindset. White has to do with the amount of money you have in the bank. White has to do with the amount of money you have in the bank. It's the 1% and then everybody else. If you don't have the ability to go golfing or be in a room with multi-millionaires and billionaires, if you don't have an ability to be on the golf course with congressmen and senators, you're not going to get the type of information that's going to ever make you rich. Not on a consistent basis. You're not going to get that. What you're going to end up getting is lucky. But if you realize that the people that run this country are going to win every time. But America has to be great somewhere. So let's keep on pushing, right? Because I told you, we not in the war. We had a conflict. We're in a conflict, per joke. But there ain't no money made off conflict. The most money that changes hands in this country, number one is going to be war and the people who manufacture weapons of mass destruction. That's where the money gets made. Because the contract that go to war, those defense contracts have billions and billions of dollars in them. That at most times they're creating weapons that only get utilized during war. We even know that some of them get left behind after war, exiting Afghanistan and the Middle East. Left millions and millions of dollars of equipment behind. Let's find the greatness though, man, because I'm getting low on time. If it wasn't the industrial era, it had to be post-World War II. Now, this is the era that most people point to when they say America was at its best. The 40s, the 50s, early 60s. Strong middle class jobs. The strong middle class jobs, home ownership, stability. This is the picture people have in their mind. And for a lot of families, that was real. That was the American dream. But again, here comes that same question. Who had access to the dream? Because while some families were building wealth, buying homes, creating generational stability, others were being locked out through policies, discrimination, and limited access. So now we got to ask, can something be considered great if it's not accessible to everyone? Or are we just calling it great because it worked for a specific group of people? Because once again, we're seeing prosperity, but not equality. Back in this, hang tight. Remember, we're not talking about black or white. I'm talking about a certain group of people. Is what I would say. I wouldn't point out because hell, some of y'all live in the same neighborhood or the people that you hate and drive vehicles that's not so much better than the people that you hate. Some of you work in the same offices as people that you hate. other reason other than color they skin. Not because you gotten to know them and you just found out they were wicked people or they were just fucked up people. You have a legitimate reason to hate people. Only because that was instilled in your blood and that's what you feel is right. I mean, and I reflect back to what Robin said. Agitated. Thinking that we want to segregate black people. Of course you do. Of course you do. Separate but equal. No one remembers that. Separate but equal. And then when you separate and you build city and you build economic economies like the one in Tulsa, Oklahoma, Black Wall Street or whatever they call it, create a problem to destroy the economic powers because that's not what we really do. And this is not hate. This is not race ranting or none of that. I'm pointing out to you that if you truthfully want to see the change that you claim that you want to see, if you really want, and you really not with the bullshit and the fucking and the tomfoolery that you say you're against, then you will be saying something about it because sitting silent, neutral in the middle of the shit is not going to change the thing. There's no difference going to be made in it. If you're not willing to speak out against wrongdoing, then I would tend to think that you agree with it because not getting in the middle of it doesn't make any fucking sense. Or not voicing your opinion doesn't make any sense. That's why I'm agitated. Because I'm willing to say how I feel about what's going on. You can look at the news and you can see what the fuck is being done. You can see the moves that are being made. You feel me? You can see what's happening. It's a grown-up job. And you're a grown man. And listen, and I love everybody that show up here. You feel me? I appreciate y'all for showing up here. But let's call it what it is. The lack of a conversation or the lack of speaking up for wrongdoing means that you agree with it. And I'm going to give you something right now. And you can take that motherfucker around with it, whatever you want. I can come over here and talk shit all day long about what's going wrong, right? And I can come on here and I can say I disagree with it and I don't like what's going on. You feel me? Here. And try to educate y'all and tell y'all that we have to be more diligent about speaking out against what we don't agree with, because that's what democracy is, right? If you go and vote, then your voice needs to be heard. And if your voice not heard, you may have to climb up on the soapbox and say it a little bit louder, right? But I have a grown-up situation where my funds go into taxes and everything else. And that tax money is used to make bonds and funnel money into defense contracting bills. So just as well that we would like to blame the government or anybody else, let me clarify something too. I'm just as fucking guilty, right? Because whether you like it or not, we all in the same fucking boat. Our money and our tax money goes towards destroying somebody else's country. Whether you deem them tyrants or whatever the case may be. Because innocent people die in those particular situations as well. Ain't nobody targeting shit and making sure that ain't no kids in the streets. They dropping the bombs and blowing everybody the fuck in the area right there off the fucking mountain. And we okay with that. We okay with that as long as we feel like it's for the greater good of the country that we love so much. Can I get an amen or something? Joe, does that sound about right? Robin, does that sound about right? Does that make sense to you? I don't come here to agitate nobody. I come here to explain to you what's going on in the world, and if you missed it or not. I didn't come here to make this about race, because nobody truly understands what race looks like. If you get up here to fucking 9 to 5 every day, welcome to the club. You just like me. You're not in the room where those decisions get made. You're not standing in those rooms. We're America. Shit, we in the country called America, but that shit means nothing. But that nothing. Let's see. If it wasn't, if that wasn't the answer, and it wasn't post World War II, it had to be the Civil Rights era. This is where America starts confronting itself. The Civil Rights Movement forces the country to look at what it says it stands for and what it actually does. And progress happens. Laws change, rights expand. That's real. But here's the part people don't always sit with. That progress didn't just happen. It had to be forced. So now we got to ask, does this prove the system works, or does it prove the system resisted change until it had no choice? But if something has to be pushed that hard to change, what does that say about it? And again, we're right back in that tension. Progress, but not without resistance. Hang tight, because I'm coming to the close. And if it wasn't, if you had to march and create such a ruckus, and they pass laws to stop that from happening now, everything it sets up. If you do it once and nobody say anything, you do it again because you already know nobody's going to say anything. That's what I'm here for, to let you see, be aware, and be on the lookout for what's going on, because you have to be able to see it coming before it get up on you. They'll tell you what they're going to do to you right before they do it. Just, I'm comfortable with what I'm doing, and I don't want to be no problem, and I don't want to cause no problems. Let me be in my little bubble in my happy life until your life gets disrupted because you want to call foul on some bullshit. Last but not least, if it wasn't that, then it has to be the last one, right? It has to be the last. Let's find out what the last one is, because I have 7 of them. The modern era is when America is great. Let's bring it to the day, because now the conversation shifts even more. I'm closing. Now the question goes to the modern era. The modern era says, we've made progress. No question. More representation, more access, more awareness. But at the same time, we're more divided on what America even is. People don't just disagree on policy anymore. They disagree on history, identity, direction. Now the question isn't just, was America great? It's, what does greatness even mean now? Because for some people, we're better than we've ever been. And for others, we're still falling short. And both of those things can exist at the same time, depending on perspective. So, was America ever greater for all people? If you look at history, the honest answer is no. But that's not the whole story, because the same history shows progress, change, movement. So maybe the goal isn't to go back, because there's no point in history where everything worked for everyone. Maybe the goal is to move forward and build something that's never fully existed before. A version of America where greatness isn't selective, it's shared. And that's a different level of conversation, because I see what you're doing. And as always, listen, above anything else, if you take your time and really be honest with yourself and look back over what's really going on right now, then you'll understand. I show up here because I take time to go back and look over history and see what it should look like for everyone. Because I'm the type of person who wants it to look right for everyone. One day we'll create a world that looks utopian. Whether you want to add it, you want to say Antichrist, whatever you want to say. The goal when we started was to leave it better than we found it, and to make sure that we left some for our children and our children's children for generations. At some point, we have to come to a place where we can see that most of the kids that come out and get born here don't come out with the bullshit that we experience as adults. And that happens at home. I'm not going to sit here and say that white people are the most terrible people in the world, because we all have some kind of proclivity, and we've all developed some kind of anger. We all have some kind of hate towards another race, whether warranted or unwarranted. What we can explain is why there's hate. Well, most of the people that you hate have never done anything to you. Could it be that we just tend to wake up and we go along with something that I like to say is called race pride? You stick with your people. You kick it where you're comfortable. And I don't want to stand out. So I'm just going to be here, because if I make the wrong decision or say the wrong thing, I could lose everything. Right? Cool. Going forward, from this moment on, I'm going to show back up here and continue to do what I'm doing. Whether you like it or not, that's cool. I just want you to remember this. Whether you do or you don't agree with what I'm saying, always be available to allow me to say what I'm saying. Take away from it what you can. Take away from it what makes sense to you. Try to be more understanding on my right to say whatever I feel from my heart. If you agree with it, cool. If you don't agree with it, that's fine as well. Thank you, Robin. Said I report you weekly. See you next week, maybe. Thank you, Robin. If you bring more traffic here and you have more people watching, and it boosts my numbers, thank you. One thing I want to explain to you is this. I believe in the American system. I believe in freedom of speech. Is it flawed? Absolutely. Is it working for everyone the way it's supposed to work for everyone? No, absolutely not. Will it one day? We hope so. Can it be that way? Absolutely. What has to change? We have to change. And with that being said, I'll see you guys next week right here. As always, I'm Mr. I See What You're Doing. I see what you're doing. If you get a chance, pick up the merchandise inbox. I'll make sure you get a nice shirt that has this logo on it. And we always looking for sponsors, man. So if you know someone out there that would love to sponsor a powerful show, hit me up at that email and we'll get it popping. Stay tuned for Speak That Shit at 7 p.m. on BFAM 109.6 or www.bfam109.6. And until next time, I see what you're doing.
www.enter beat-effect.com for more info, beats, and designs.
Yeah,
These
man.
beats available for
Hey,
$30 and exclusive beats starting at $150.
GBR, man. Swishy King in the
Make him nasty.